Now, there are reports that two former Nigerian leaders, that's former President Goodluck Jonathan and former military President Ibrahim Babangida, have been trying to broker a reconciliation meeting between the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidates, that's Atiku Abubakar, and Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. The crisis between the two PDP functionaries has formed quite an interesting backdrop to campaigning ahead of next February's presidential election. Amina Rafindadi is a member of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. She joins us now to discuss PDP's preparations for the 2023 general election, Atiku's plans for the womenfolk and the youth, and the party's chances of victory. Amina, it's good to have you on Newsday. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, of course, a few weeks ago, your presidential candidates, that's Atiku Abubakar, struck a new deal with women and youth populations. And, he pledged to concede 60% of his cabinet membership to them. I'm wondering what other plans he might have in addition to that for the women and youth specifically.
Well, I think we're very much aware that the women and youth are always underrepresented and feel disenfranchised. So in cognizance of that, the PDP and Atiku Abubakar have decided that it's necessary to concentrate microcredit schemes, financial schemes, concentrate education, and also use a form of affirmative action to make sure that at least 35% of positions go to women and the youth. So it's a question of building capacity, building a sense of independence and an ability to take care of themselves. So basically to grow the private sector, to work within the private sector and generate wealth.
All right, thank you for that. Now, over 50% of the newly registered voters are women, as we all know. The APC have made similar commitments as the PDP with regards to appointments and female inclusion and representation in their next government, and they've backed that commitment by creating a women's presidential campaign team. When we look at the PDP's campaign, we are struggling to see the visibility of women. That's besides the She campaign that was launched by Titi Abubakar. What are some of the other campaign integration or inclusivity, can we take note of that show a commitment to the upliftment of women and their inclusion in governance moving forward?
Well, the campaign council, the female campaign council, is being launched today. And the whole idea of the PDP is, for the PDP, is to make sure that women are integrated, not segregated or separated. So the idea is that it is more mainstream, and that will improve and improve the inclusivity for women. They're not specific in separating and creating separate campaigns or slogans, but to create a space where women can function optimally. And a lot of the times, the women who are on the campaign trail, some of them actually choose not to be on the campaign trail and like to campaign one-on-one with the women on ground. So there is nothing separate. It's inclusive. That is what the PDP is hoping to achieve.
Well, I mean, when Atiku made that pledge to concede 60% of his cabinet to youth and women, he did mention that it's not a jamboree and that they would need to, go to canvass supports in the polling stations and whatnot. I'm just wondering how much success you think you might be able to record when it comes to canvassing that support regarding the integrity group, when it comes to states that the Wike and the other governors that feel some type of way about the selection of Okowa as the running mate. How much support do you think you'll be able to garner in those affected states?
Well, I think all the members of the party, even the Integrity Group, have said that they are campaigning and working within the PDP. They are not campaigning for any other party. They are campaigning for the PDP, like I said.
Well, so, I mean, I'm so sorry
when it comes to support, they are...
I mean, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I wanted to also mention, bearing in mind that Wike has also thrown his weight behind for the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi. So it seems like you're talking from both sides to an extent, both sides of their mouths.
Well, I don't know what to say regarding that, but what I know is that they have said that they are working for the PDP. Having thrown his weight, I think those are internal wranglings within the party, and I know that negotiations are taking place, so we'll have to await the outcome of those negotiations. But, politics is noisy, and at this rate, the sands are still shifting, so we can't say for sure where it will lie or end. But the truth is that as the Integrity Group, they have said they're working for the PDP. Even though, there are still wranglings at the top, we will find out what the outcomes of those negotiations will be.
Now, let's talk a little bit about damage control while we're on the issue of the internal politics of the PDP. And, a lot of the statements being made by Governor Nyesom Wike, specifically most recently, the statement that former President Goodluck Jonathan is unlikely to back Atiku. Now, this is a statement, of course, made by Governor Wike due to past experiences, things that have happened in the past. I want to know, what is the strategy for damage control? Because a lot of utterances are being thrown into the public space, but we often just see a rebuttal of, we're working towards, we're working towards resolving it. Is there any real work being done on the ground to mitigate the damage that these utterances undoubtedly make into the polity?
Obviously, there is work being done behind the scenes, and it is continuous. This is a very public spat, but at some point you will see that it will be resolved. I can almost guarantee that. There are differences across board in any party, in any organization. The manner with which it's being dealt with is rather quieter than the way in which it is publicized. We will, as a party, overcome this issue, and I'm sure that the party affiliations or the party leaders will have some kind of resolution to it.
Well, I mean, still, coming back to my initial question to you regarding that support that your presidential candidate expects with women to, canvass when it comes to getting the electorate on board. We've seen him bow out of, a couple of town halls now, including one with his vice, based on the tweet that was sent out yesterday that, he couldn't attend. So when we see, of course, we understand that there's an internal crisis going on with what's happening with the Integrity Group, even though it's not called a crisis from within. So we see your candidate prioritize meetings with that group, and then, he does not attend town hall meetings that give him the opportunity to first hear from him directly, as opposed to being represented for eloquent people like you. And I'm just wondering if you think that this is rubbing people off the wrong way, because some analysts say that that is a sign of arrogance on his part.
It's not arrogance. You have an immediate crisis and a problem that needs to be solved, and it has to be solved. As a party, we need to move forward in unison, and we cannot solve the problems of Nigeria if we can't win an election, and that is where we're working towards. We're working towards winning an election. The reason that it's not necessarily taken as a priority, or that he's prioritizing that over a meeting with the polity or engaging in town halls, it's that sometimes, you have to, some things have to take precedence. That's the main reason. But when it comes to the polity and actually making them understand one thing, when you vote for a political party, and that means you're voting for PDP and you're hoping to have a specific leader, whom in this case is Atiku Abubakar, his ability to unite and keep the party together is one that is definitely something that people will value, because it's part of what he aspires to do for the nation. And like I said, because you're voting for a political party, everybody needs to understand that this is the only political party that is seeking to restructure the country so that it works for the majority rather than for nobody, because it's not working at the moment. And for the fact that that work needs to be done consistently and continuously, it's important that people understand why all the socioeconomic indices that we have seen in the past 8 years have declined. It has nothing to do with the economics or just policies. It's the system that is broken, and that is what the PDP is selling or taking to the polity. We have to change the system. If we don't work actively and specifically to change the system, nobody is going to benefit from it.
Now, while we're talking about people voting for a party and the leader of the PDP being a unifier, in your words, what is the position of former presidents Goodluck Jonathan, Ibrahim Babangida? Have they formally endorsed Atiku for his presidential candidacy?
I can't speak for either of them, but what I do know is that they are working with him to make sure the party is successful.
Well, okay, thank you for clearing that up, Amina. We do understand that there are allegations that coming from Wike that he has been, threatened for insisting that IU should resign as the national chairman of the PDP. Those are allegations that we're hearing about. I don't know if you'll be in that position to confirm or deny it, because if we're hearing on one side that you're making progress with resolving the issues that have been put on the table by the Integrity Group, and now we're hearing allegations that Wike is saying he's being threatened based on his insistence that IU must resign. How much progress are you really making?
Well, negotiations ebb and flow. It's not a linear progression. So you take issues one at a time and try to overcome them and find a middle ground. So what I can say is that the party is working consistently and specifically trying to find a middle ground on all the issues, and specifically the one that has been the bone of contention.
Right. Now, as we round up, Amina, there have been, there have been conversations around Peter Obi possibly being the biggest threat to PDP, and that his candidacy is itching away at all of the PDP's support in that region. If you were to analyze the current state of the PDP's campaign, what would you say is the biggest threat to the PDP's presidential campaign currently?
I wouldn't single out anything specifically as a threat. I think as a party we have to work hard to make the polity understand that we are the only party who is seeking to restructure the country to work for the majority. When I said before that you're voting for a political party and the leader on top, our federalism is fractured, it's broken. We have a system where you have a strong man at the top and a central system where everybody has to pay allegiance and go and kowtow, cap in hand, to gain whatever favor they're going to gain. We are the only party who want to change that. And then when it comes to the Labour Party, what do you know about the Labour Party? They still don't have a manifesto that's agreed between them and their principal. So if that's the case, what is their track record in governance? Do they have any experience in governance? These are the questions that people have to ask themselves, because if anything happens to the leader of a political party, the deputy takes over. Now, these are the issues that we will still and consistently sell and let the polity understand, that the only way we can get change from the consumption that is so draining to the country, to production, is when the system is changed. So I really don't think anything specific is a threat. I know that the Labour Party have made gains, so have the PDP, but the thing is that we all have to understand how the system works, and we all have to understand that without that change, nothing will work.
Well, thank you so much, PDP Presidential Campaign Council member Amina Rafindadi. Thank you for your time on Newsday. We appreciate you for joining us.